Okay, let's dive into this. We need to talk about something we all kind of take for granted, but our entire future, it might just depend on it, and that's water. The source material for this explainer doesn't just tell a story, it's a direct and, frankly, urgent warning to every single one of us. So our source material kicks things off with this incredibly sobering thought. It immediately reframes the whole conversation, right? This isn't just another environmental issue, this is about our own existence. And that leads us to the big question we're tackling today. Seriously, think about it. Is this where we're headed? This isn't a plot for some sci-fi movie. The source suggests it's a very real possibility, maybe even in our lifetime, and it's something we need to face right now.
To even begin to understand how we could get to a world fighting over water, we first have to wrap our heads around this huge disconnect, this gap between how valuable water actually is and how carelessly we treat it.
Now get ready for this number, because it's a bit of a shocker. We live on the blue planet, right? It's covered in water. But less than 1% of all of it is actually fresh, accessible water that we can drink. The rest, it's either salt water or locked away in glaciers. We act like it's an infinite resource, but the reality is, it's not.
And this, right here, is the Great Divide. In some parts of the world, water is literally cheaper than a bottle of soda. We just don't think about it. But in other places, people are walking for hours, for miles, just to get a bucket of muddy water. The source material calls this what it is, an injustice. And if you look at history, injustice, well, that's often the seed that grows into conflict.
To really drive home where this injustice could lead, the source material gives us a story. It's a glimpse into a future that feels terrifyingly close. So just picture this. The year is 2045. Think of a small town, a place that used to be green, full of life, but now it's gone. It's just dust. The life has been completely drained from the land. In this town, everything, and I mean everything, revolves around a single well. And it's not guarded by an army or soldiers. No, it's guarded by ordinary people. Mothers, fathers, neighbors who've been forced to pick up weapons to protect their family's access to the last few drops of water. And this is where it gets really intense. Because when survival is on the line, when your own child is thirsty, what happens to the rules of society, to right and wrong? They start to blur. They start to break down. Desperation just takes over.
Water costs more today. That's the line. That's what a guard tells a father who's begging for water for his dying daughter. It's just a chilling thing to hear. Survival itself has become a commodity, something you have to buy, and he can't afford it anymore.
And this is the final, heartbreaking moment. A good man is forced to do something unthinkable. He points a gun, not for greed, not for power, but for a sip of water for his child. He's been pushed to the absolute edge of his humanity.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. That story, it feels like fiction, something far off in the future. But here's what the source material makes crystal clear. The warning signs are not in the future. They are here, right now. And these aren't just hypotheticals, you guys. We're talking about major rivers in Europe running dangerously low. We're talking about states in the US fighting each other in court over who gets the water from the Colorado River. We're talking about entire nations arguing over dams. This fight for water, it's already started.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, the brutal lesson from history is pretty simple, isn't it? When a resource that people need to survive becomes scarce, whether it's food or land or water, peace suddenly becomes a luxury. It becomes optional.
So all of this forces us to ask a really tough question. How on earth did we get here? According to the analysis, the answer isn't out there somewhere. To find the cause, we just need to look in the mirror. The analysis here is, well, pretty provocative. It asks, are we the villains in our own story? We talk about climate change like it's this big external monster that just showed up. But what if it's just a reflection, a direct reflection of all our collective actions and our inaction? You know, they say every villain believes they're justified. So what are our justifications? Oh, one person can't make a difference. It's not really my problem. You know, I'll think about it later. The thing is, while we've all been waiting for later, later has already arrived. And this is the question the source material says the future is asking us, right now. It's a direct challenge to our priorities, isn't it? It's forcing us to weigh our convenience today against the actual survival of generations to come.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty bleak, but the point here isn't to just say we're all doomed. This is presented as a final warning. It's a last call to action while we still have time to choose a different ending to this story.
So what does that different path look like? Well, it requires a huge shift in how we think. First, we have to start treating water with respect, like a sacred resource, not just some commodity to exploit. Second, we have to demand that our governments put long-term sustainability ahead of short-term profits. And finally, we have to choose to be aware, to actually engage with this instead of just looking away.
And it's so easy to feel like, well, what can one person really do? But we have to remember the power we have together. One small, conscious choice might feel like just a drop in the ocean. But when millions of us make that same choice, that's not a ripple anymore. That's a tidal wave. That's how you rewrite history.
And we're left with this final, haunting thought. It's a powerful reminder that we are living in this moment. The choice to act or to ignore is still, for a little while longer, in our hands. So, what are we going to decide?